I can't quite see you. Do you want to bring yourself forward so that your head should be moving? I want to open with reading the public meeting notice, or the public hearing notice for the Community Development Block Grant, having the time be 5:15 on March 16th. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I will have a sign-in sheet signed by the two participants that are here in attendance. The notice of public hearing for the town of Southbridge is being held to receive public input on the town's fiscal year 22-23 to 25 block grant mini entitlement program activities and the fiscal year 26 mini entitlement grant application, which is upcoming. Current activities include code enforcement, street improvements, housing rehab, and commercial facade improvements. Potential activities include downtown beautification, business development, street improvements, public social services. All activities are based on fiscal year 24 community development strategy. The meetings will be held here in the Economic Development Office today at 5 o'clock. We encourage members of the public wishing to give input and be heard to attend or provide comments in writing. As far as I'm aware, we have not received any comments. If you prefer, we do have the notice in Spanish published, and we could always translate this meeting for someone who speaks Spanish if needed in the future. This meeting is being recorded. It was published in the Telegram and Gazette on March 1st and March 8th, and it was published in the community through our hopefully our community boards, our bulletin boards, such as our police department, our community center, our library, and our cable office. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing first to talk about the existing programs that are fiscal year 22-23 through fiscal year 25. So the activities we have are code enforcement. We have a part-time, we pay for 60% of the health code enforcement inspector and 60% of the building code enforcement. We also are doing housing rehab on homes throughout the community who are income eligible, and are owner occupied are the two criteria. So you have to be low, moderate income, and you have to be owner occupied in order to be eligible. If anyone's interested, they can come in and get on our wait list. We do already have a wait list of about 6 people hoping to get current or future funding, but it's a great way for us to continue to justify the need. We are also funding commercial rehab. However, we have struggled to see people go forward with the commercial rehab for one reason or another. Some situations we're seeing are when we go out to bid, the bid amount ends up being higher than what the property owner was anticipating, and they therefore back out because they do not want to pay for their match. Right now, the match is at 10%. It was previously 25%, but because construction costs, inflation have driven up construction costs, we're seeing those construction projects coming higher than what they were hoping. And so we are therefore actually in the middle of transferring money from commercial rehab to housing rehab to be able to continue to do the good work of the housing rehab program and not hold up our funds, which are supposed to be spent by the end of June, but we're actually going for an extension as we speak to the end of September. Also being funded in 22-23 was our open space and recreation plan, which we completed. That can be found either through our office or online. If you can't find it easily, contact us and we'll make sure we get it up and available. You can always go to Southbridge Civil Space in order to find our open space and recreation plan there. It's a storyboard format of projects that we have going on in town. And so one of those projects was the open space and recreation plan. That looks at all of our parks and deferred maintenance and future projects and kind of helps us rank priorities and talk about the different ways we are approaching recreation, conservation, education, and it also included a facility study of the community center to see how we could affordably modernize the senior center / community center. And that's 22-23. 24 is the North Street neighborhood paving, which will start this spring, or finish this spring, it'll be pretty quick. And then code enforcement, so that's pretty discreet. And then fiscal year 25 is sort of a mirror of 22-23, where we're going to do more housing rehab and commercial rehab, but a much less amount of funding went into it. So with that, do we have questions? And I don't know which way to look, here or here. Yeah, so but I'll stick with this so that the, you know,
well, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
About the CDBG grants. There were two of them in particular that I was trying to get information on that appear to have gone through and been approved by town council, both for Ugal Realty LLC, one for 208 Hamilton Street for painting and awnings, and a second one for at 1 to 11 Central Street, Unit 13 for Honest Town Eats for windows and facade improvements. And from my earlier conversation with you, my understanding is that neither one of those is actually going through, that those are...
At this time, correct. So my understanding, the CDBG coordinator is out on intermittent leave right now. However, I can have her respond to your inquiries when she returns. My understanding is similar to what I was just referencing about the commercial rehab. I think she may have gotten prices that the property owner then felt was too high to go forward, but I'm not positive. And you know, the question of, she went to town council, got approval for projects at a certain amount. I know she was trying very hard to move projects along as quickly as possible, and so she may have preemptively asked for the permission before getting the property owner's agreement on whatever the bid responses were. And so then the property owner may have said, no, I'm not willing to go forward, and they do not have to go forward until, you know, until they sign the contract with the town, which we first have to get approval for with town council. Until they sign the contract with the town, are they obligated to go forward. So as much as it might seem like, you know, although we have approved and are allegedly going forward, it's not an obligation. So that,
okay.
Yeah,
would those have to go once a bid is in and accepted? Would those have to go again before town council?
If she didn't go forward with the ones that she accepted.
Okay, but so she did get bids that?
I think she got responses for, I think she got a response, at least I know, for the flat iron, that I think was in question for a few reasons.
Okay.
Yes, so they didn't go forward, and so by law, all of our bids state the town has the right to reject any bids if it's in the best interest of the town. And so, even though we went out to bid, we're not under obligation to accept it. And then again, even though we've gone to town council and we've gotten approval, we're not obligated to go forward until
Okay.
all parties have signed
And
the
so
contract.
Jack Jobin won't have signed any checks at this point for that particular
Correct.
property owner?
Correct. The
Okay.
only amount of money we've spent on the Flatiron so far has been the less than $800 we spent for Moon Magic's sign.
Sure.
And then on 111 Central, as I mentioned earlier, it was an ARPA loan, which is outside of CDBG. And it's a 0% loan for 8 years. The first year they had to finish the project. Then after 1 year, they start paying on the loan, and they've been paying on that loan for the,
Okay.
they have the
Okay.
service.
And I just wanted to reiterate my comment about that according to Mass Land Records, they have not paid Dynamic Fire Protection the bulk of the work that was done there, even though the work was completed, so to the tune, and there was also an $8,000 change order on that, which you can see in what I provided you.
So just for the public record, this is a mechanics lien notice of contract under MGL 254 Section 4 that was provided to me by Dimitri, showing that there's a lien of $50,600 due, and that was dated November of 2024. So maybe by now they could have made them whole and paid their
Okay.
bill. Yeah.
Okay.
And we wouldn't know that unless we contacted them. Yes, but as I had explained earlier, the ARPA loan is structured in a way to make sure that by law, we're meeting the ARPA statute that says we can loan funds and not trigger prevailing wages as long as we have an arm's length and we're not overseeing the project, which means we are not necessarily in touch with their contractor as long as within 1 year of giving them the loan, they're paying back the loan. That is our oversight.
Okay.
And they have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I could just make a comment, I believe that the town should find a way to do greater oversight, especially in the case of somebody getting work done, getting a big loan from the town, not using the money for what it was intended, using it for other things, and also the fact that there's a change order on there of $8,000 that was never adjusted. So you're not only are you giving them money that they're using for something else, you're also giving them more money than the actual cost of the work. And neither one of those things seems like good use of public money.
So a comment taken.
Okay.
If only I would ask anybody to sit in my seat any day and try to balance some of these opportunities, right? I think the biggest, and this is outside of CDBG, but the biggest challenge with those ARPA funds for me was how do we make those funds as productive as possible for the town? Giving a grant would have required that we spent all of the funds within that, at that point we'd only had a few years left, so we would have had to have spent all those funds down and we would have never seen them again. To make them a loan, we would have, had this opportunity to, be a gift that keeps on giving, in my opinion, right? Where we can help businesses and have them paying back the town so that we can then reallocate those funds for other businesses to be able to. The goal was to trigger the opening of storefronts. So, with that in mind, the goal is, from my perspective, how do we promote business? How do we, try to help small businesses in those situations where there's a struggle with cash flow in the beginning? So that was really the aim. And then, again, by statute, if we got too involved, we then trigger prevailing wages, which then drives up the cost of the project, which is then a disservice to the small business, which is not right. So then it goes against the goal. So it's it's those day-to-day decisions that we're trying to make, again, within the confines of with this situation, the ARPA loan. So I felt like we did a really good job of creating a program, and now we're able to continue to use that program in the community. Yeah, and I, because this is in 2024, I would say circle back, see if maybe they have made the contractor whole. You know,
Okay.
yeah, I'd love to give
Okay.
everyone the benefit of the doubt, right? That
Yeah.
maybe they did.
Yeah, and if I could just make one other comment is, it sounded like with the CDBG money, that one of the things could be code enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And I am aware that there have been a lot of upset citizens in the town of Southbridge
That's right.
regarding the conditions of their housing,
That's right.
in particular with white paper strategies, but probably with some other developers as well. And if there's CDBG money that can go toward the code enforcement to a greater degree, not just paying, you know, for a position, but actually, you know, using it in a proactive way to make sure that these people are not living in these
Standard conditions, of
substandard
course.
conditions. Yeah.
Yes, and then that is always the aim, is to try to increase this, you know, improve the lives of our low moderate income residents. So the, you know, we have two national objectives in CDBG. You are either by data proving that you're improving the lives of low moderate income residents, or you're improving what was a slum blight survey that shows things in fair or poor condition. And you have to be able to show that on paper. So like with the code enforcement, we're actually having to ask for reports of inspections and report in how many people were, you know, inspected, and of those, how many, you know, the inspection violations were improved, etc. It's a lot of administration to be able to continue to have to prove that we're following the law, but the money comes with all sorts of obligations, and so yes, that's the goal. And so your point is taken. We
Yeah,
will
I just
advocate.
think it'd be a good use of money.
So we'll advocate for more code enforcement, and you know, if we can increase the number of code enforcement officers, that would be a win for the town.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yes. Did you have other comments about? Okay, so housing, again, housing rehab, commercial rehab, North Street neighborhood infrastructure, and then code enforcement. Those are the projects. And if you have no comments, we can move on to the next grant rounds. Okay. Oh, but while we're on this, one of the programs that I didn't mention, I'm sorry, is we added in this senior tenant program. Has everyone, so for the public, okay, so the senior tenant program was added as an amendment to the 22-23 years because we had residents from Lebanon Hill coming to us saying their rent had increased, and we've never seen a turnout like that at our town council before, advocating for help. And so we turned around and asked the state immediately, can we help? And they approved, we went for $100,000, and we can fund up to 3 months worth of rent for anybody who can prove they're income eligible and that they have had a rent increase of X amount. They are not allowed to have assets at this time. I would love to advocate during this public hearing that you potentially loosen the rules to allow for a small amount of assets on, you know, in someone's financial statements, so that they can get help also, because right now we are not spending the money down as quickly as we thought we would, and there are a lot of people who are sort of right on that cusp of they've got a little bit of savings, and because they have a little bit of savings, they're almost being punished. They're not eligible for the funds. So that would be my position. Does the public have any opinion on that?
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
So I would advocate for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so then so we'll close the hearing with regards to our current grant years, 22, 23, 24, and 25. And now we'll move on to our very exciting fiscal year 26 Community Development Block Grant. So 26 is due April 21st. And I've been emailing back and forth with the state. By now we should have gotten some kind of approval from the state about potential projects. As it was mentioned in the public hearing notice, our projects have to be listed inside of our community development strategy. Our community development strategy is a 3-page document that lists all the things we think are priorities for the town over X number of years. It has things like things that might not even be funded by CDBG, but they're a priority for the town, like the fire station, like the rail trail, things like that. So they're all listed in this document. If they're not listed in the document, we can't go forward with block grant funds. So this year, what I would like to advocate for, based on the public hearing input, is a transfer station feasibility study and engineering to be able to help offset the cost of curbside collection for the town in the future at a price of $150,000. So this is a study and the engineering for the transfer station and for recycling and collection there for town residents. The other item I would recommend is the pedestrian bike bridge over East Main Street Rotary to be able to have a connection from.
Are they going to put a bridge in?
That's
it's
what I would
kind
like
of
to-
necessary, isn't
So
it?
I would like to advocate for it.
I've been wondering about that.
So there are historic photos from, 2000 of the bridge there, and it's no longer.
Right.
It would be great if the town could put in, obviously not a traffic bearing, but
Right,
a
it doesn't have
pedestrian
to be
bike
that
bridge.
complicated,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
So the bridge itself might cost somewhere around between $1.8 and $2 million, but the design will have to cost a little bit more than your average 10% in engineering because it is going to have to be approved by Mass DOT. So, and we are doing that because
I assume because it crosses the roadway, right?
and because we suspect we'll probably turn to Mass DOT for funds in the future. So we want to make sure that we'll be able to be eligible for the funds by doing the right engineering.
Right.
And so we're asking for a little over $400,000 for the design. It is a very heartfelt project for the town. I think the rail trail has shown to be a real crowd pleaser. I think everybody's been really excited about it. I know that it was something that Mark Karen advocated for back in the late 90s and the 2000s, right? And for the town to finally go forward and build the rail trail has been a huge win. I think it's going to change the look and the feel of the downtown when people can get out and
Oh, I've
meander.
lived in many places with them, and they've always been a success. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and-
Southbridge is kind of one of the last places to get
Yeah.
on the trail train,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I
But
do-
yeah, they're always a huge hit.
Yeah, and that location, I feel like, it immediately reduces a ton of slum and blight in the downtown where it crosses. And it offers a lot of opportunity for economic development right around it. So, for economic development, I think it's a great cause. For our low moderate income residents, day-to-day livelihood, I feel like it's a great cause. Psychologically, I think people enjoy the opportunity to get out in a safe place easily on a rail trail. And then I feel like the bridge will be a lot more than that because it was something sort of nostalgic that people liked. I felt like I've heard a lot, and maybe I misunderstood, but I feel like I've heard a lot. People miss the bridge, and that will put something back that they've lost. And it'll be pretty, right? It'll showcase you'll be able to look over at the Lensdale Pond at the AO, right? You'll be able to see the AO campus, you'll see the downtown, from a fun vantage point. So I think it would be a real bonus for the town to be able to go forward with the bridge. So that's what I'm advocating for. And then the other money would be for our administration in the office and then for code enforcement again. And again, we can advocate for more code enforcement. And
Yeah.
those would be
Yeah, that would really be good.
those would be the projects for fiscal year 26 if the public agrees. So for anybody.
And back to the transfer station, that also is a great idea. I've lived in many towns with transfer stations, and they work really good.
Okay.
So I'm all
Yeah.
for that, and it would absolutely lower it would give people an option, lower the cost.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get the swap shops. Those are
Right.
fun, right?
I know. I love going in and picking up stuff. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so who knows, whether they'll have a swap shop, but at least the chance
Oh, I'm
to be
sure
able to
they
save
would.
money on the recycling and the
They usually put a
disposal.
little
Right.
tractor trailer box on the property.
Right.
And throw goodies in there.
Yeah. So good, I'm glad you support it.
Oh, definitely.
2 of our 17,000 members.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so the other comment that I had for Dimitri was, Dimitri came in saying, I didn't see this well posted, and to me, it's a struggle, it continues to be a struggle, to increase public engagement in this town. The 2 times I have seen public engagement really skyrocket were the one time I bought, 50 pizzas for the urban renewal plan major amendment meeting that happened here in the late fall.
It's the pizza that
It
got
was the
everyone
pizza!
out. Yeah.
Right? And then the other time was for the transfer station at a public hearing, but otherwise I don't know how to generate the interest.
I know, it's
And
hard to get people.
Even if
out.
people do hear about it, what gets them out of their house and to the meeting? I don't know. And so if you have concrete suggestions, please, I am so happy to try to fulfill them, because our program hinges on good public engagement.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's important.
Yes.
I wish people would come out.
I do too. Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, when people come here and they advocate for something, we end up being able to try to, if it's eligible using block grant funds, we're able to advocate for it in the next years.
Yeah.
Any suggestions?
No, I mean, the only thing I can think is to proactively go out to small businesses and, and commercial owners and, let them know there is money available,
For the
for
commercial,
for various
Yeah.
projects.
Do you know who the EOHLC people want us to target? Is the low moderate income people. And how do I find them and bring them in? Because they're the
Yeah.
ones that we're supposed to be helping the most.
Yeah,
Yes.
that also would be
Yes,
good.
yes.
Yeah.
And those who are maybe, marginalized, or who, speak English as a second language, or, like those people who are disenfranchised, how do we bring them in? That's a struggle.
Yeah.
Yes, so for the public, if anybody has any productive comments, or any comments, I don't know, productive or not, right? Any comments, please share
Then
them
come show up.
with our office. Yeah, so my email address is M as in Margaret, mdean@southbridgemass.org. My name is Peg Dean, Economic Development and Planning Director. You can always call the office and share your comments, 508-764-5402. Door's always open, we're in the basement of Town Hall. Always open to public feedback. We want to be as transparent as possible with what we're doing. So, if you do have questions about how we're running the program, by all means, we're always here to answer questions. And the point of these hearings is, how do we improve the program? How do we improve input? How do we improve, how do we improve? So whatever feedback people have, we'd love it.
Okay.
All right, any other comments about the block grant money?
For me.
No?
Okay. This year's amount is only gonna be, $875,000. We usually average somewhere between $825 and $950, depending on the year, how much the state has, how much we've spent in previous years, et cetera. But fiscal year 22-23 was an unusually large amount of money because they doubled up 2 years worth of money. And that's part of the reason why we're struggling to spend it down, and we're moving into projects like the senior tenor program, et cetera. But this year, in fiscal year 26, it'll be $875. So what we'll do from here is we will not have another public hearing. So anybody's comments, please share them. We will take your comments into consideration, and then the next step for the application will be to then go to our redevelopment authority and our planning and development subcommittee, and then town council for approvals. And with that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. I want to thank anybody who's watching or watched, and anybody who takes interest. We're all trying to do our best to improve the town of Southbridge. We love it, and we want to see the best for everybody. All right, thank you. Take care.